Greetings everyone, welcome back to a very exciting episode of Blade Bias. Today I have a package from the ever wonderful Ted Flips. Huge thank you to Ted for his continuous generosity in allowing me to check out some of the cool things that he has in his collection to make videos for you guys. Today, as you might have been able to tell from the title, we have Machinewise's Magnum Opus V2. And I actually did not expect it to be anodized. That is quite beautiful. So, a little bit of a history lesson for some of the people who maybe aren't as familiar with Machinewise, which is one of my favorite balisong companies of all time and holds my personal record for favorite balisong with the Machinewise Seraph, one of the most premium feeling balisongs that I have ever felt. However, they felt that they maybe didn't make the Seraph good enough, and in a very large attempt to create what would hopefully become their Magnum Opus, hence the name, I could be wrong, but let's just say Machinewise designed and created the Opus, which was initially meant to be a direct and permanent replacement for the Seraph. The Opus actually started its life as a Seraph V2, but the community came together to basically say, hey, the Seraph is awesome. Can we please maybe not discontinue that? And then Machinewise said, okay, and the Opus became a thing. It's a great balisong. I've never owned one, although I would really love to one day. And this is its little brother, the Opus, or I guess it's his little brother in the sense that it's younger, but it's its older brother in the sense that it's better, I guess. But this is its brother, the Opus V2, generously loaned by Ted Flips himself. Now, I did try this out at Blade Show, and it remained one of the most premium feeling balisongs I've ever felt. So let's see if that holds true now that I'm in the comfort of my own home and not surrounded by a bunch of people at Blade Show. We can see kind of the original Opus carrying through with these hexagons, both on the speed channels and also some little cutouts on the inside. But the Opus now has a fully flat face, kind of reminiscent of something like the Sasori or the Totori that Machinewise have been doing recently. But I think I've been yapping long enough. Let's give this thing a flip. Huge thank you to Ted for letting me try this thing out. This, already dropping it, we're off to a great start. This, I believe Ted said had the heavyweights installed. So it's a little more handle biased than I personally am really looking for out of this kind of stuff. I love my Seraph, basically mainly with with no weights installed. The more weights that I installed in my Seraph, the less interesting of a balisong it became to me. And almost the more boring it was to flip for me when I did that. Granted, it's been a while, so maybe I should give that another try. But this really does flip fantastically. It's an Opus, it's a Machinewise product. It's going to flip fantastically. Little bit more ass weight than I'm typically looking for in a balisong like this, but otherwise, that's the point of the weights that they offer in the box here. You can see that although these, I believe, are not the weights. Actually, maybe these are the lightweights and the heavyweights are installed. Ted said that there was some sort of packaging mix-up, so he didn't have one of the sets of weights yet, but come back for my follow-up video to figure out what the details on all that are. I'll straighten that out in between videos. But right now, I mean, yeah, it flips good. It was always going to flip good. It's a expensive balisong, and most of the time they flip good. But the real story with the Opus, and with a lot of expensive balisongs in general for me, is really the feel in the hand. This is such a dense, weighty, premium feeling balisong in a way that the Seraph kind of isn't. Don't get me wrong, the Seraph feels incredible. It is one of the most premium balisongs that I have ever held, and it is the most premium well-made balisong in my collection, but you definitely pick up the Seraph, and it feels a little hollow, mostly because it is, so no surprise there. But you pick up the Opus, and it just feels a step above. It makes the Seraph feel a little cheaper by comparison somehow, which is crazy, because it just feels dense, it feels weighty. This texturing on the surface is incredibly subtle, but it is also incredibly well machined. If you look really closely here, you can see we have some V-shaped. We've got lines pointing down this way and then this way on each side of the handle. And then in the middle, it's kind of like this diamond checkered pattern. It feels incredible. The whole handle just feels very, very well machined as usual. The joke that I always like to make is that it was machined quite wisely. Heck, I'll be here all week. You can come punch me in the face anytime. Please don't do that. So it is just a very weighty, premium feeling balisong. And it looks amazing. I'm not particularly a huge fan of the changes they've made to the Opus in terms of it being an Opus V2. Like, the original experience of the Opus is definitely missing here slightly. The original V1 Opus, to my memory, felt much more like the Seraph in the sense that it felt a little bit more hollow, but it had a very different weight distribution. If the Seraph is kind of your more standard little bit of handle bias, then the Opus was much more outer weighted. The weight was focused in the tips and in the ends of the handles, which means that both the blade and the handles carried momentum amazingly, but it wasn't exactly a balance for everyone. It was something that I preferred the consistency of the Seraph, but I thought that the Opus was just a very fun flipper, and I really do enjoy that kind of outer weighted weight distribution whenever it is done well. And I think on the Opus V1 it was done well. However, the Opus V2, at least to all the experiences that I've had with it so far, definitely feels like a midpoint between the two. It definitely doesn't feel like it has that super outer weighted balance with not much in the middle. It feels a lot more filled out, a lot more distributed, unlike the Opus V1. But it still does have more tip weight than the original Seraph, meaning that it doesn't exactly have that like specific slight handle bias that the Seraph does, especially with the light and the heavy weights in the Seraph. Maybe that's something that's going to change when I change out the weights on this one, but I'm finding that it's a nice midpoint between the two. And as a balisong in general, I think it is Machinewise's most premium yet. But as an Opus V2, I am personally a tiny bit disappointed to see it not follow in the footsteps of the V1, especially design. That sucks. Sorry, Ted. Especially design and flipping wise. So yeah, I definitely want to get the heavier weights out of this. So in the follow-up video, I will be running either no weight. I'll be running, I don't know what's in here right now. I'll be running less than whatever is in here right now. Fanning is just a little bit wonky for me right now. It definitely has a little bit more of that handle bias, like I've mentioned. So I'm going to get the weights out of it and then probably flip it for the majority of the time I have it. Assuming Ted is okay with that, I'll double check with him, of course. Because right now, not my favorite flipper in the world, but undeniably incredibly premium feeling. And the tolerances are just stellar, as is expected from a Machinewise product like this. No tap or really much play to speak of. And it does sound excellent. So, the Opus V2, I'll finally be able to give you my full thoughts on it when I do my follow-up video. Huge thank you to Ted for sending this thing out for me to borrow for a little bit so I can check it out. And a huge thank you to you guys for watching. Stay tuned for my more up-to-date thoughts, because basically what I gave you is what I feel about this from the time I tried it at a Blade Show and the small time I've tried it now. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.